Here's an interview from one of our past shows on Rock and Metal Revival. If you're interested in hearing full shows, go to our Facebook page and check out our list of affiliates for times and places where you can hear Rock and Metal Revival. There is sure knows something from Kiss Unplugged on our very merry KISSMAS show. And we want to welcome back to our KISSMAS show former Kiss guitarist Bruce-Kulick. Welcome back to the show, Bruce.
Hey, thanks for having me. That's wonderful. Merry Christmas.
It's always great to have you on the show. And Bruce, I was just listening to the Unplugged this past week in the car, and it made me think what a great live performance that was for Kiss. And actually, in my mind, next to Kiss Alive, my favorite Kiss live performance, that had to be quite a moment for you and quite a memorable night and a little bit bittersweet, too, wasn't it?
Yes, very much so. And you know, this year I did get to talk about Unplugged again. You know, we actually filmed it in '95, so obviously, with it being 2020, I had a 25-year anniversary of it, and then it was shown sometime in Halloween. Mm-hmm. But it was filmed in August, and then of course the record came out in the spring of '96. You know, and obviously with this you know, pandemic and everything, and live performing being challenging for everybody, I was exploring a lot of those songs with my wife Lisa, and just recently did a streaming concert with Todd Kearns. He plays bass with Slash and performed with me on the Kiss Cruises. And obviously, what was great about our stream concert was, of course, we borrowed a lot of songs from Kiss Unplugged, you know. And I know you just finished up with Sure Know Something, and that was included in that set. And I even introduced, my wife came in on that song and sang some background. So now the gig itself, I didn't realize it was my last like real. I recently online shared what my last actual gig with the band was back in December. I think it was 15th, which was at the Mark and Brian radio show.
Okay.
But that was barely a real gig. You know, we got up as part of a you know, day of entertainment from multiple artists, ranging from, you know, Bing Crosby, not Bing Crosby, Bob Hope.
Okay.
You know, to I'm forgetting now some of the other artists. It was Peter Frampton, for example, and that was a big radio show in Hollywood. And we got up and played two rock tunes, Hard Luck Woman and Dr. Love, oddly enough. That was a strange one.
Yeah.
And then we sang White Christmas. But the taping and the big concert performance filming and the whole thing of Unplugged, I still really look at that as my last big gig. You know what I mean? My
mm-hmm.
You know, because that was just a promotional event for us to appear on a you know, radio show that was in front of a live audience, but it wasn't really a ticketed thing. Kind of like the MTV thing was great. I mean, what a great. If I'm going to go out with the band on a high, if you know what I mean, even though Carnival of Souls came out after that, it's something I'm really proud of. And the convention tour was what triggered the opportunity for Unplugged. But quite honestly, it also was the catalyst for the reunion tour, which meant the end of that's the bittersweet that you mentioned. You know, and that's absolutely correct. Now, you got to remember, those guys were always kind of like, you know, hey, I'd love to be back in the band, you know, kind of thing, or what do you think about a reunion? And I don't think Gene and Paul really cared to entertain that until the Unplugged thing came around and MTV really wanted those guys involved. And then all of a sudden people were interested. You know, promoters were throwing, you know, big offers to the guys. So it was kind of weird. Eric Singer and I, obviously in the January of '96 is when we were told that they were going to make the announcement at the Grammys or something the next month, and we were finishing Carnival of Souls. So it really was a weird time of my life and everything. But, you know, again, I wasn't not going to be in KISS because I didn't play well enough or I didn't get along with the guys. Mm-hmm. It was purely a business thing, and I always like to say sometimes that it seemed like Star Wars went away for a long time, and then 20 years later, all of a sudden, the franchise, you know, retools, and there's more Star Wars movies. So the Make-Up KISS, it was time for that to come back, and as you know, the numbers don't lie. They did tremendous business, and that might have been the end of me actually being in the band, but my connection to the band's been very strong all these years.
Now,
and
Bruce
continues to be.
Now, Bruce, I've seen the band over 50 times in my life, and I've been a huge fan for a long time. And I felt that your 12-year run in KISS was some of the best music that the band had done in its 40-year career. How do you look back on your time in KISS and your contribution to the band through that time?
Well, thank you so much. I hear that from quite a few fans, there people especially. I did something, an interview with a guy in Finland that I've known a while, and he was just reminding me again how the makeup era didn't mean as much to them, that in Scandinavia and in parts of Europe, the non-makeup era made the biggest impact when I, was in the band. So that's quite flattering, obviously, because we know how big the iconic face makeup thing is, what I mean, connected to the word KISS, okay? Now, while I was doing it, look, I followed KISS even though I didn't grow up a huge KISS fan, but, many people know, of course, my brother auditioned for the band, and then he did some ghost guitar work and worked with Paul and had his connection to KISS that was really cool, and that's how I did meet them. It's not exactly how I got the gig, even though my brother would always tell them, Bruce would be great in the band. But finally, when that opportunity came up, they already went with Mark St. John after Vinnie Vincent, and then next thing you know, Mark's got some health issues. Other people besides my brother reminded Paul Stanley that Bruce would, could record on the record, and I came in and helped him out on Animalized. So first I'm contacted shortly after the session because Paul said, don't cut your hair. And about, 6 weeks later, he's like, we need you to come to Europe with us. Maybe it'll be 2 weeks, maybe 6. Well, as you know, it turned into 12 years. But the point is, I took it really day by day, year by year, because as much as I was an official member of the band by December of '84, I didn't know how long the band would carry on. But like most things I tackle in life, I wanted to do the best job I could do, and I really did care about the opportunity. Of course, you dream of having an opportunity of being in a really big band, and I really did fit with them musically, and I certainly, personality-wise, I could handle. Gene and Paul are very, they're both very powerful and strong in their personalities in different ways, actually, but very driven with the work and what KISS means and how it should be, kind of be creative with that, kind of dynamic. And that was something I always had to work with, and I think I had a good personality for that. Because there are a lot of bands, they'll get a member, and the next thing you know, it doesn't work out. And a lot of that is just an emotional thing, not even a musical thing, So I did my best. I'm so proud of those years. There's so many great albums, songs, videos, tours, and memories. And I've been having, especially with me not traveling with Grand Funk and doing other things that I usually do in a typical year, I've been knee-deep in my history. And it's just been coming up, and the fans share it. And ironically enough, the past year has had a lot of big anniversaries. Late last year was Animalized, and all of a sudden this year had not only the MTV taping and the, some things about the auction that came out in 2000, but Asylum was released in I think it was September of '85, and then the tour starts in November. So you see what I mean? I was very creative with my iMovie presentations on my social media and YouTube, sharing these anniversaries, and one of them did really great, especially when I showed a friend of mine, Michael, who helps me archive all my KISS stuff because he's a huge KISS fan. I had the audio because I got a lot of tapes from touring with the band, and he had good fan footage of us covering The Who. Won't Get Fooled Again.
Oh, yeah.
With Gene, Paul, and Eric Carr trading off vocals. So, as you can tell, if you ask me what do I think of my years in KISS, simply I'm celebrating it all the time, and the fact that I've had time with the pandemic to really dig into it, it's become a really eye-opening experience, and I'm really glad that the fans have reacted the way they have towards it.
Well, Bruce, I was at the time was really digging that heavy sound that Kiss was going for with Revenge and in Carnival of Souls. I love that album. Who was the driving force behind going back to that heavier sound? Was it the grunge sound that was taking over music, or did the band just decide to go back to a little bit of a heavier root sound?
Well, in a big way, and you're touching on some really cool things about, bands that have longevity, they do evolve. All artists do, even people from Elvis to Frank Sinatra to the Beatles and so on. Groups evolve. Now, I jumped in, right prior to me, they went through a lot of changes. Let's start with, the huge live records and then other successful studio albums. But then all of a sudden they do, let's say, The Elder, and they do a disco song, I Was Made for Loving You, and then they do Creatures of the Night, and by then it was like almost, I remember Eddie Trunk telling me how it was not good to be a Kiss fan during certain years. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking about makeup years, you were like, people wanted to beat you up, So, what was really interesting, when I jumped in, fortunately the band was growing, okay? It came out, Lick It Up helped, MTV helped. All of a sudden, Heaven's on Fire is put out, and then Animalize is a huge hit. Asylum, we did good, but Animalize was actually a little bigger. Crazy Nights, we went for a certain sound, then we get into Hot in the Shade, and it just, everything evolved. Now, by the time we got to Hot in the Shade, I think we started looking at less 80s whammy guitars and wild stuff. But I really think we got tougher with Revenge, and that was Bob Ezrin coming in, not doing an Elder for us, and not doing Destroyer for us, but doing something maybe just really tough and powerful. And to really get more specific with your question about Carnival of Souls, yeah, in a way the band is somewhat influenced by what's going on around them. Not so much intentionally, but it is what the flavor of the day was that music was getting darker and heavier and detuned and everything. And we just kind of decided, well, Revenge did well, didn't, do amazing, considering it's really a fantastic album. But I think there was let's do a heavier record. So now I'm writing riffs that are all detuned, some strange time signatures. Was I influenced by some of the grunge bands? Yeah, but the intention was still very much just crunchy rock and roll that was powerful. So that's what Carnival of Souls became, like a heavier album than Revenge. And obviously we never really got a chance to see what it could have done, because by then the reunion tour happened, it was put on hold, and then it finally came out a few years later,
Yeah, I totally get that. Now, my co-host who couldn't be here today wanted me to ask you, in your career with Kiss, what is the guitar solo that you're most, proud of?
Well, that's a really cool question, and obviously I have a few, okay, and they'll go a bit through the years, okay. One would certainly be, from if I go chronologically, like Tears Are Falling is a real iconic solo for me from Asylum, of course. And then, there's some cool stuff on Crazy Nights, like No, No, No. Everyone's real curious about that intro and everything. Hot in the Shade had the acoustic solo in Forever that I love, okay? And then Revenge had, like, very aggressive things like Unholy, So I have to say I have all these I love the fact that I could be known for a contrasting guitar style like the acoustic solo of Forever, and at the same time something like Unholy. So it's all good to me. It's really up to you guys what your favorite solo is, But I have a lot of great highlights. Even the title track from Crazy Nights, that solo's pretty well. I get people who want to take lessons from me, and I do give guitar lessons. They're like, "Can you show me that solo?" You know what I mean? So I know that Tears and Crazy Nights and stuff like that are some of the big requests.
All right, now, Bruce, since your time in KISS, we've been following your career here at Rock and Metal Revival. We were big fans of the band Union with John Corabi. Your time in Grand Funk, your solo albums that you put out that I personally really enjoy and still listen to this day. You know, Bruce,
Thank you.
What's next?